I remember the exact moment the silence between Clara and me became deafening. It wasn't marked by a shouting match or a slammed door, but by the quiet resignation in her eyes as she handed me a cup of coffee one morning. The warmth of the mug contrasted sharply with the coldness of her gaze, and I knew then that something had shifted irreparably between us. Our marriage, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, had become a series of monotonous routines and unspoken grievances. Clara's late nights at the gallery became more frequent, and her excuses more rehearsed. I tried to dismiss the growing suspicion gnawing at my gut, attributing it to my own insecurities. But the truth has a way of revealing itself, often in the most mundane of ways. One evening, while searching for a misplaced charger, I stumbled upon Clara's phone buzzing incessantly. Curiosity got the better of me, and I glanced at the screen. Messages from an unfamiliar number, filled with intimate language and plans that didn't involve me, confirmed my worst fears. Confronting Clara was a lesson in futility. She met my accusations with indifference, accusing me of invading her privacy and dismissing my concerns as baseless. The emotional chasm between us widened, and I found solace in my work, immersing myself in architectural designs and blueprints to escape the reality of my crumbling marriage. It was during one of these escapist ventures that I met Lila, a vibrant photographer with an infectious zest for life. Our collaboration on a project quickly evolved into late-night conversations and shared vulnerabilities. With Lila, I felt seen and heard in ways I hadn't with Clara in years. As our bond deepened, so did my internal conflict. The lines between professional collaboration and personal connection blurred, leading to a night of passion that left me both exhilarated and riddled with guilt. I had become the very thing I despised, a cheater. Returning home, the weight of my actions bore down on me. I resolved to come clean, to confront the issues plaguing our marriage. But before I could utter a word, Clara slid a manila envelope across the table, her smirk betraying a sense of triumph. Inside were divorce papers, meticulously prepared and awaiting my signature. I sat in silence, the room echoing with the unspoken acknowledgement of our mutual betrayals. Clara's eyes held a mixture of contempt and relief, as if she had been waiting for this moment. In that instant, I realized that our marriage had been over long before either of us had strayed. Would you like me to continue with Section 2? Exploring the deepening relationship between the protagonist and Lila, and the complexities that arise from their affair? The days following Clara's silent declaration of our marriage's end were a blur. I found myself wandering through our penthouse, each room echoing with memories now tainted by betrayal. The once warm hues of our shared life had faded into cold, sterile tones. Seeking refuge, I immersed myself in my architectural project. It was during a gallery opening for one such project that I met Lila. Her presence was magnetic. She moved through the crowd with an effortless grace, her laughter a melodic contrast to the ambient chatter. Our initial conversation was light, centered around art and design. But as the evening progressed, our dialogue deepened. Lila spoke of her passion for photography, her eyes lighting up as she described capturing fleeting moments. I found myself drawn to her authenticity, a stark contrast to the facade that had become my marriage. We began collaborating on a project, our meetings becoming more frequent. Each interaction peeled back layers, revealing shared vulnerabilities and desires. With Lila, I felt a resurgence of emotions long dormant. One evening, after a particularly intense brainstorming session, our conversation drifted to personal topics. The air between us thickened with unspoken tension. Without thinking, I leaned in, our lips meeting in a kiss that ignited a fire within me. The aftermath was a whirlwind of passion and guilt. We spent the night entwined, our bodies communicating what words could not. But as dawn broke, reality set in. I was still married, albeit in name only. The weight of my actions pressed heavily upon me. Returning home, I found Clara seated at the kitchen table, a manila envelope before her. She slid it toward me, her smirk devoid of warmth. Inside were divorce papers, meticulously prepared. She offered no explanation, only a cold, "It's time." I sat in silence, the room echoing with the finality of our union's demise. Clara's eyes held no remorse, only a detached satisfaction. In that moment, I realized that our marriage had ended long before this exchange. The ink on the divorce papers had barely dried when the repercussions of my actions began to ripple through every facet of my life. Clara's smirk, a silent proclamation of victory, haunted my thoughts. I had underestimated her resolve and the depth of her resentment. News of our separation spread quickly through our social circles, each retelling more embellished than the last. Colleagues offered hollow sympathies, their eyes betraying curiosity and judgment. The once inviting atmosphere of my office grew tense, whispers trailing me like shadows. Lila, too, felt the weight of our indiscretions. Her photography exhibitions faced unexpected cancellations, sponsors withdrawing support without explanation. The art community, once her sanctuary, turned cold and unwelcoming. Our relationship, initially a refuge from the turmoil of my marriage, now bore the strain of public scrutiny. Arguments replaced laughter, silence supplanted intimacy. We found ourselves questioning the foundation of our connection, wondering if it could withstand the storm we had unleashed. Clara, ever strategic, leveraged the situation to her advantage. She demanded a substantial settlement, threatening to expose further details of our affair if I resisted. Faced with the potential destruction of my professional reputation, I acquiesced, signing over assets and properties without contest. The legal battles were draining, each court appearance a reminder of my failures. Friends distanced themselves, unwilling to be caught in the crossfire. Isolation became my constant companion, the silence of my once vibrant home now deafening. In moments of solitude, I reflected on the choices that led me here. The allure of passion had blinded me to the consequences, and now I stood amidst the ruins of two relationships, both marred by betrayal and regret. Lila, sensing the growing chasm between us, suggested a break. She needed time to heal, to rediscover her identity beyond the scandal. I respected her decision, understanding that love, no matter how intense, couldn't thrive in the shadows of guilt and resentment. Alone, I began the arduous journey of rebuilding. Therapy sessions forced me to confront uncomfortable truths, to acknowledge my role in the unraveling of my marriage and the subsequent fallout. Each revelation was a step toward redemption, a chance to learn from the past and forge a path forward. The process was neither quick nor painless, but with time, I began to find solace in solitude, strength in vulnerability, and hope in the possibility of forgiveness, both from others and myself. The finality of the divorce was both a relief and a burden. Clara and I had severed the last ties that bound us, and yet, the weight of our shared history lingered. I moved into a modest apartment, its bare walls a stark contrast to the opulence of our former penthouse. Each creak of the floorboards echoed the emptiness I felt inside. In the solitude of my new home, I began the arduous process of self-reflection. Therapy sessions forced me to confront the uncomfortable truths about myself, the choices I made, the pain I caused, and the person I had become. I realized that healing required more than just time. It demanded accountability and change. Lila's absence was palpable. Our passionate affair had been a whirlwind, but in the aftermath, we both needed space to heal. We exchanged occasional messages, each one a tentative step toward reconciliation. I respected her need for distance, understanding that true connection couldn't be built on the ruins of past mistakes. Professionally, I faced the consequences of my actions. The scandal had tarnished my reputation, and clients were hesitant to associate with me. But I was determined to rebuild. I took on smaller projects, poured my heart into each design, and gradually regained the trust of my peers. As months passed, I found solace in the simple pleasures of life: a morning jog, a good book, a quiet evening on the balcony. These moments, once overlooked, became the foundation of my new existence. I learned to appreciate the present, to find joy in the mundane, and to forgive myself for the past. Eventually, Lila and I crossed paths again. Our reunion was cautious, filled with unspoken questions and lingering emotions. We talked for hours, sharing our journeys of growth and healing. It was clear that while our past was complicated, our connection remained. We decided to take things slowly, to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. There were no grand declarations or sweeping gestures, just two people, scarred but stronger, choosing to move forward together. In the end, the pain and turmoil had led me to a place of clarity. I had lost a marriage, faced public scrutiny, and confronted my deepest flaws. But through it all, I discovered resilience, growth, and the possibility of redemption. As I sat on my balcony, the city skyline stretching before me, I felt a sense of peace. The journey had been tumultuous, but it had brought me to a place of understanding. And in that moment, I knew that while the past would always be a part of me, it no longer defined me.